All right. Welcome back to another edition of Traits Triumph by way of the What's the Play Productions. I'm Christian here with Brian and SportsFan. And if you have not, be sure to go tune into our first mock draft and tune into we have 3 episodes total. Watch all of them. Just watch all the episodes. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe on all of them, and this one included. This is our 4th episode of our draft season podcast. We are going to be discussing the primary pass catchers in this year's draft, the receivers and tight ends. We did record a receiver episode previously. We mentioned this in the mock draft. Footage got corrupted. The audio was messed up. So we're back with it again. So if we speed through it a little bit, it's because we've already discussed it. But you've heard most of our opinions on the receivers for the most part, based off the mock draft and the combine. So we're going to try to go through our, say, top 10, right? We all have pretty different top 10s, but we're going to try to go through those pretty quickly. And then we're going to jump to our top 5 tight ends. So like I said, be sure to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. And now let's get into the content. All right, so let's just jump right into it. I think Brian said we're going to start off with all of our top 5 receivers. Brian, would you like to give your top 5 first?
All right, so my top 5 is Marvin Harrison Jr. 1, Malik Nabers 2, Odunze 3, Brian Thomas Jr. at 4. No, Adonai Mitchell at 4. Adonai Mitchell at 4, and Brian Thomas Jr. at 5.
SportsFan, you can go next.
Okay. I got Marvin Harrison at 1. Pretty sure he's consensus number 1. Even though I heard some talks about that. Number 2 is Odunze for me. Number 3 is Malik Nabers. Number 4 is Brian Thomas Jr. And number 5 is Adonai Mitchell.
My top 5 is the most different. I have Marvin Harrison Jr. number 1, Malik Nabers number 2 currently. Rome is currently number 3. Number 4 is where it gets a little different. I have Xavier Legette, and number 5 is Brian Thomas Jr. So let's discuss just really quickly. The first point of discussion is the Malik and Rome debate for wide receiver 2 in the class. There was a report on Twitter. I don't know what report it was, that some teams claim to have Malik as their wide receiver 1. If that's the case, then I don't know what their scouting department is going to do once that player actually comes on the board, but I don't think they actually have the guts to actually take somebody as a receiver over Marvin Harrison Jr. But a lot of the debate with the wide receiver class has been who is the true wide receiver 2 in this class. And I'm of the thought that it's based off preference, scheme, and fit, because I do think between these two, I think they're both very talented players with all pro level ceilings. So I don't think you can go wrong with either one. I think you do have to, in determining your fit between these two, is you probably want to draft for whoever fits your scheme and your wide receiver room better at the time. But I have Malik over Rome just based off after catch ability right now. I think they're both good route runners. They're both good down the field. But Malik is just slightly more explosive. Rome has bigger size. But after the catch, I think Malik provides a little bit more. And I think that's why those reports of Malik over Marvin was coming out. The reasoning was Malik has that explosiveness that Marvin or Rome may not have after the catch. But for me, I have Malik at 2, but I do think all 3 are top 5 to top 10 level picks in any draft.
You want to go, JG?
Yeah, I kind of can see it, because if you look at most metrics for Marvin, the one thing he's kind of been lacking overall his career was mainly yards after catch and breaking tackles after catch. I know that's a big part of a lot of West Coast offices now, especially the Kyle Shanahan offices, yards after the catch, getting to your playmakers in the space and letting them create or run away from people. I know that's been a very big... Wow, somebody just made a tough bucket on the Heat. Terry Rozier is crazy. I'm sorry. But, yeah, it's been hard for Marvin to really, even increase his stock, because he hasn't done no combine. He skipped the pro day today as the day of recording. So it's more so, it's just you got to watch his film and what he did the pro day last year with CJ and say, with Malik this year, did better after the catch. He's more explosive, technically. But I still think overall, just body of work, Marvin, his body control, his route running, it's really hard for me to put somebody else over him. I mean, just lineage-wise, son of Marvin Harrison, he actually played like it. unlike some other sons of receivers in this draft this year. So,
what a hater you are.
No, I'm not a hater, but
you just don't like some people. And it's
no, I like Brandon Rice. A 4th-round pick for him. Good. Brandon Rice would be good for 4th-round pick. He could be a good wide receiver 3, 2, 3, 4.
I knew you said that.
But it's like, I think this happens to a lot of top prospects. Just the months in between the end of the college season and draft, people just get bored and the fatigue of just looking at the same players, talking about the same players, and suddenly somebody else just comes up. The same thing happened with Drake May. He was QB2, I guess, at the end of the year, and now he's QB3, and now he's QB4, and now he's back to QB2. And he didn't do nothing. He hasn't done anything at all. He's just moving up and down the board just to do it. When it's like somewhere kind of close, people just like to say, "Oh yeah, I see it. I see the film." Man, that should happen with Caleb Williams. We got somebody saying Jaden Daniels is number 1 in this class. I don't know what I won't say his name. LeBron is thinking, but people just get bored, so you just start saying stuff. I think it's that time. People just saying stuff. But I think at the end of the day, I think we all know Marvin will be the first receiver drafted. Caleb will be the first quarterback drafted, and we go from there.
Yeah, I say honestly, besides being bored, I think it's also a situation of like year-to-year tape. Because if you just go off 2022 tape, obviously, Caleb and Drake would easily be 1 and 2, and then Marvin Harrison had C.J. Stroud instead of Kyle McCord, so it's a little different on tape. But kind of like CT said, I value Malik. I value Malik Nabers' explosiveness more than Rome, just because I think that plays well. That plays better in different positions because he's a guy that you can put in the slot, but he's also a guy you can potentially have outside as well. And he's a guy. I wouldn't say he's like this former LSU receiver in this establishment, but it's a guy kind of like when Odell first got in the league where you could throw him a short pass and he feels like a home run threat. Now you could do the same with Rome, but he doesn't have the same level of explosiveness. Now he's obviously a better contested catch guy, and as CT said on our mock draft episode, he could be 2 and Malik could be 3 on people's boards depending on the structure of their wide receiver rooms, for lack of a better term. So again, it's kind of. Go ahead, JJ.
I'll finish.
I was just gonna say it's basically like a 2A 2B situation to me. So the one thing I value a little bit more is just Malik's explosiveness. 'Cause I think both of them have the positional versatility. Both of them are good running routes. They're both good with their hands. So it's not like a whole lot of separation between the two of them to me.
I think. Go ahead.
Just quickly, I prefer kind of Rome over Malik. Just me personally, just the height and what that kind of creates as an outside receiver. I mean, Malik can play outside, but as I watch more film and I see other receivers like Steve Smith and other receivers talk about him, it's more so he can play from the outside, but if you watch the LSU offense, they dominated. Malik Nabers dominated a lot from the slot. That was mainly Brian Thomas kind of winning on the outside. So I'm not going to say he can do it, but, we just haven't seen him do it a lot. He won on the outside sometimes, but when it was versus FSU to start the season, he kind of got locked up on the outside when the corners got his hands on him. He didn't do a lot of, like, fighting with his hands off the line. He tried to just duck his shoulder and try to run past him, and when that didn't work, he didn't really go nowhere. So that's kind of when they moved him to the slot after that game, and towards, in the season, they were just doing slot fades, post, quick slants out the slot, or if it's on the outside, it's something quick so you can get the ball in his hand and he can go. But, there's nothing wrong with that because a lot of players are, went from the slot in this league. The whole office is built around players winning from the slot. Tyreek has done it. Cooper Kupp has done it. A lot of receivers have done it. So it's not like you can't win in the NFL like that. It's all about, exposing matchups and winning the matchups that you create with your scheme. But a lot of teams kind of need that outside receiver that Rome and Marvin are. That also want ISO one on the outside. It kind of stresses the defense to a different degree. The safeties have to, move over to guard somebody like that. You can't leave your corners one-on-one. So that's why I pick Rome over Malik, but I can understand if somebody has Malik higher.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned this, but I do think Malik is probably most likely in this class to get molded into one of those slot merchants that we see in the league. And you see players like Amon-Ra who has Pro Bowl, All Pro level seasons
Yeah.
just in the slot, And the
Shit.
casual NFL fan doesn't think of Amon-Ra St. Brown as a slot receiver. They just think of him as a All Pro level wide receiver.
You
And
say
if
this
we,
CD.
yeah, CD, these are guys who can win on the outside, but they
Yeah.
get most in the slot because Cooper Kupp showed could put up 2,000 yards in the slot and you don't get touched. So if we were to rank simply outside receivers, Malik Nabers wouldn't be two on my list. He might not even be three.
I
But
don't think.
He might be not be 5. Yeah, I was about to say.
so but I think Rome is clearly second in terms of simply outside receivers. But I think Malik's ability to, I mean, his ability to not win consistently on the outside, but it shows up in the slot the way he's able to work in the slot, and that's where the league is going. So it sounds like a slight on him, but if this is where he's actually able to win, I don't have to spend the top 5, top 10 pick on somebody who can turn into all pro level seasons. And then Marvin, I said this in the first receiver episode. I wanted to go back to this. I feel like he's the most QB proof receiver in the class. Where if he's drafted somewhere with a bad quarterback, he'll still have success. And I think Rome is kind of in that same mode, except he has to be in a situation where a quarterback does at least trust to throw the ball up to him. Marvin's catch radius just makes it almost impossible to overthrow him or throw him a bad ball. But the thing with Rome is, like, you have, like, super conservative quarterbacks who may not even try to throw the ball downfield to him, and that's where you really want to see him when on the outside is down the field, contested catch situations. And some quarterbacks, Rome may not look open in that scenario, so they may not throw it. But that's where he's won in college. He calls it a 100-0 ball for him because he's so confident in his ability to catch that ball. But I think all three of these guys are QB proof, situation proof. I think they'll all have success. And now when we get into 4 through 10, I think that's where you really have guys where the situation could either help or hinder what we actually see from them in the next level. And that's where I have my number 4 guy, Xavier Legette. He's a little high on my board in comparison to some people, but the
It's
traits
not
on film. The traits
literally nobody.
The
Nobody.
traits are showing up that I saw on film. They show up at the combine. They showed up at the pro day. Social media is falling in love with him. They heard that Southern drawl. They love it. Xavier Legette, the traits. He's not 6'3", 6'1", maybe 6'1", but 6'1", 220, 4.3 speed. And the thing with him is he has the traits to win on the outside. He has the traits to win on the inside. This is another guy who I think could potentially be one of those slot merchants. Now, he does not have the route running ability yet of many of the slot merchants that we see. But I think if he is put in a good scheme where they scheme the ball to him in a different variety of ways, he could have success. And we saw it with last year with players like Rashee Rice, Tank Dell, where you may not have been big on their upside as a true outside guy, but they were able to find ways to win, not only on the slot, but also on the outside. And I'm not saying he's similar players to them, but I think it's like a similar conversation around him in comparison to him, but he's much more traits-based in comparison to those two. So I think the upside is so much higher with him. I do think he probably has the highest upside out of these guys, maybe other than Brian Thomas Jr., that I have below him. That's why I got him at 4, upside. Buying into traits. Traits Triumph. That's the name of this podcast.
Yeah. So to speak on Legette, I mean, I had him at 5 initially, kind of for the same reasons CT was said. And on the episode, I believe I said he's a guy that I believe will be really dynamic in like the intermediate game. I think he'll be real special there. You saw that a lot in like the game against Georgia when they were able to find him. And I think like CT said, he'll be great if he's used in the slot. The thing that made me hesitate a little bit, it made me move him down a little. It came down to him and Brian Thomas for me, and I just felt like the combine when you see the 40 that Brian Thomas ran, and then you think about him already being 6'4" and being a guy that probably can that still has room to grow. from a route running standpoint and things of that nature. Even though he's a very smooth receiver, and he's a guy that can already high point the football and do everything else. I think his room to grow and his potential, plus him already being 6'4", which is something that you just can't teach. That was and the 40 time at the combine. Those all went into me putting Brian Thomas over Legette. But I mean, Legette is right there for me, like in that tier, kind of like TT saying, where it's a real outside chance of being a wide receiver one going forward. But if he's in the right system and he gets the right development, it's very possible for that to be the case.
I think he's more likely to be a number one option in an offense than Brian Thomas or Lad McConkey. Lad McConkey, that's my boy. But I think Legette has the type of traits that you see from the wide receiver ones. Well, not wide receiver ones. Number one options in this league. I'm not going to call him a wide receiver one because he may not be the guy that wins on the outside consistently. But I think this is the type of guy that you see as a number one option in an offense. We see it in so many different teams. The slot guy is the number one guy. The move guy is the number one guy in the offense. You know, San Francisco. I didn't want to say.
No. I knew you was gonna say that.
I didn't want to say his name.
You just made a Debo. Don't do it.
I don't think he's gonna do that.
Debo Samuel, they had to. He was the number one option before Christian McCaffrey got there. He was the number one option in the offense. He's not a true, route running merchant at receiver. If you can get into the right system and they can scheme that ball to you, you can see the actual traits on the field after the catch. And one thing I will say, Brian Thomas, AD Mitchell had great combines, but Xavier Legette did not just crumble. He fought back. 4.39 40. I did not expect that. 4.39. AD Mitchell, Brian Thomas both had 4.35 ish, I think, but Xavier Legette 4.39 is a great time for him. It's a great time for 6 foot 220, 6'1", 220.
I agree there, CT. I'm not saying that it was like definitively better than Legette, but when you have 6'4" running 4.3, 4.35, 4.34, there's levels when it's 6'4" versus 6 foot. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. You gotta look at that build.
Man,
I look at the build.
Anyway,
Much more compact build.
It's like I see the promise, I see the potential, but it's just at some point you gotta show some on-film actual receiver work, and it's lacking on the film. I'm not going to say like he has no potential. He'll never be good. He clearly has potential. He's really, like Mingo said, if you look at the build, it's very rare receivers build like him, move like him, and as fast as him. So I can understand if you want to mold a wide receiver like that into a wide receiver one or to a slot wide receiver one. But at the same time, to have him at 4 over receivers that's proven to win, running routes the way most receivers in the league, not named Deebo Samuel, win on the field. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but I get it. Trait triumph, as you say. Even as this video is being recorded, every day I wake up, I go to Twitter. There's a new Xavier Legette thread. I don't know if it was the video of him talking that accent, but he has a new thread.
The agents are going to work, JG. The agents are going to work.
His agents
I'm the agent.
You might be. You was.
Y'all cut CT in check, man. Y'all cut.
That's what I'm saying.
You was the first nigga to say that nigga name like this, and I'm like, maybe it's just CT being CT. Now every damn day I'm hearing about his life story. I know things about this man from when he was a kid. Now I know his accent. Now I know every highlight, all his stats. I've seen every highlight about 10 times now. I don't.
And all the threads about his room for growth and potential.
All this attention, you think they're gonna let him fail at the next level? Not a chance. Not a chance.
Especially if he goes to the first round.
He's not.
I said if. I said if.
Brian, do you know when FSU's pro day is?
You said who's pro day?
FSU. Did it occur already?
I think it's later. I can look it up.
All right. We'll move on. I had Brian Thomas at 5. I think we've already discussed Brian Thomas a little bit. SportsFan, who did you have at 5 again?
He's at my 4. Brian Thomas my 4.
But who's your 5? AD Mitchell?
AD Mitchell.
Okay. Anything else need to be said on AD Mitchell? I have a little bit lower, but that's not, it's not an indictment on him as a receiver. I may have to adjust it later. But just right now, I couldn't move him above any of the guys I had 6 through wherever he's currently at. But he's a good receiver. I think something came out where the routes he runs can be lazy. But he did say, I think he said something about where he knows when he's not getting the ball and he knows when he's a decoy, stuff like that. So
yeah, he's
already talking like a wide receiver 1, so I don't know.
Like, it's like people were posting clips. If he knew he wasn't getting the ball, he would try to shake the DB so he fall. And if he fell, he would point at him mid-play and just know the ball's not coming his way. So he never looked at the quarterback. He would just point at him. And so you on film, you see him pointing at DBs he make fall, niggas that he blocked out of bounds. He just be, I guess just having fun. He said he be lazy on routes to conserve energy. So, I mean, it worked. It worked clearly, so I can't say it didn't work. I mean, of course, in the league, you're going to have to actually put more effort in. But even still, doing that in the league won't actually probably hurt as much. If you really know the ball's going to come to you, if it's like a run play or it's RPO to the other side, you can probably still do that. And teams, cycle through receivers a lot to keep them fresh. I'm not even sure if that's really something that's really going to hurt him in the NFL. But I'm still curious to see what he looks like and with a real QB. Because the speed that Texas team had was not done justice with the QB they had. I will leave it at that. I won't leave it at that, actually. That should tell you everything about the next year's draft class, because the guy, that QB is probably projected to be a top 3 in next year's class. So,
not on my board.
This is why Bo Nix at 12 is
not on my board, but an NFL board.
I just sent my board into the group chat. You should go look at that.
Yeah, that shit is ass. I seen it. I seen it. That's depressing. Boy, after Watchman, they get a little crazy. Rolex man, they get a little crazy.
What do you mean? He's not number 1. All right. Anyway.
Oh no! You really got Carson back number 1.
We're not talking about that class.
DJ being on this list is a little crazy. I'm not gonna lie to you, because he's not gonna have the weapons that Jordan Travis did last year.
AD Mitchell, man, what if his ceiling man is like CD but better?
Oh my goodness! Stop saying that.
Don't let Dallas take him then. Don't let Dallas draft him.
That's a ceiling though. Rarely do receivers like just hit their ceiling.
I'd rather they say DeAndre Hopkins than they say CeeDee Lamb.
You said the same thing twice.
That's not the same thing.
Was it that CD's comp? If I'm not mistaken?
That was CD's comp, but CD doesn't play like that in the league.
They didn't use the op in the slot. What can I say? I watched my head coach use him on the outside for 2-3 straight years. So what the fuck? Didn't come move from that left side. He stood there the whole time.
That's what they're supposed to do, man. They're supposed to be men on that island by themselves.
NFL don't work like that anymore.
Dog though.
But shit, AD Mitchell could definitely move from the slot. For his height and his speed, a lot of receivers just cannot move like that. And I still think he runs routes probably top 3, top 4 route running wise in this draft. So I'm curious to see what he looks like when he's actually trying all the time and running around. The potential is there. I can't fake like he doesn't have probably one of the highest potentials in the draft. Somebody's gonna reach like that. Somebody might reach on that. I wouldn't be surprised the Bills. Bills not even made a draft. He might not even still be there. Let me look at the draft order again.
I don't know if he's still gonna be there. I don't think Dallas is making the mistake I made, but
Dallas could. Boy, Dallas need everything though. Shit. Man.
Somebody might trade up to 25, honestly.
Let's have no receivers. They could draft them.
I was thinking maybe 23 when we were doing the mock draft. If you wanted to give CJ another guy, but that was pre Texas trade.
Yeah, they traded up. Do the Texans even have a first round pick now?
No.
Yeah. Speaking of that trade, I'm not sure what any other video over. We'll talk about it. So quickly, that trade the Texans and Vikings did. I see why the Vikings did it. I don't know why the Texans did it exactly, but
I mean, what other picks do they have in the draft?
I'm about to look right now
because I'm assuming they were thinking about picking up picks for later, but I don't know how many picks they had this year, so it might not work. But
the Vikings acquired number 23 overall this year and a 7th round this year for a 2nd round pick this year, a 6th round pick this year, and a 2nd round pick next year. It seems lopsided to me. I don't
Yeah.
have the board, the numbers, and the values of each pick, but to get a first round without trading a first round at all seems a little backwards. Because the next year the Vikings in theory could just trade back and get a second round back, and so now they have a first and a second again. But maybe the you know Texans know what they're doing. Fuck if I know. They seem to think they have the best team ever because they have no first round pick at all now. So who knows what they're doing?
Maybe they'll say that Will Anderson Jr. was their pick for this year. I don't know.
Shit. Man, who did that? Somebody did that last year. I think who did that? No, I'm trying to remember now. Now, some teams do that, and it don't work out sometimes.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I think the Browns had to do that. I don't know. But, yeah, we'll see. AD Mitchell should be drafted pretty highly just based on potential. Once you get past, like, the top three, you're not really drafting on the skill set they already have. You're drafting on what they could be. That's why Xavier Legette at 4 from Eagles ain't that crazy. Or, if you have somebody else who's based on potential higher, like Malachi Corley or Keon Coleman, if that's your type of build, I mean, I can't say it's crazy.
And that Brian Thomas pick that CT made at 17 is looking a lot better post free agency.
Who that pick at 17?
Brian Thomas Jr.
I be cooking, man. I be cooking up, man. I be knowing the Jaguars, right?
Yes, Jacksonville.
Brian Thomas.
Because his whole reasoning was they were going to have to replace Calvin Ridley.
That's stinky.
Hey, it's not my fault. It's their fault.
It sure is. It sure is, man. It sure is their fault. I don't know
what that. I help them as best as I can.
Yeah. So to answer your question from earlier, CT, FSU's pro day is this Friday on the 22nd. Just real quick on AD Mitchell for me. I had him as I said this in a previous wide receiver episode. I think JJ kind of like touched on it a little bit. But I also tried to make sure I looked at his Georgia film to see like if there was any drop off in terms of like route running or anything like that. And he looked like the same exact player. So it didn't seem like it was like a scheme situation that was holding him back per se at either place. I think his top line speed is probably top 3 in this draft. I think that is something that he'll probably be able to use to his advantage better than someone like a Troy Franklin, because we already know that he knows how to kind of manipulate angles and things of that nature. Considering that he, for some reason, he wasn't going full speed in college going against DBs and still beating guys like Terrion Arnold, who will be probably a top 15 pick in this draft. So I'm not too concerned about him. I think he'll be able to win on the outside, win in the slot, like you guys have said. The route running is there. The ability to separate is there. Steve Smith did talk about him being a body catcher, so hopefully that changes a little bit, because obviously the windows in the NFL of being able to catch the football are a lot smaller than in college. But outside of that, I don't see anything from any of the receivers underneath him that would make me move him from my wide receiver 4 going into this draft.
Yeah, to be clear, Steve Smith definitely said that he's a body catcher a lot, but I want to make sure it's clear. It's not a big negative, because sometimes in the league, you do need to catch the ball at your body, especially if it's somebody coming to hit you or something like that. It's easier than putting your hands out trying to catch the ball and getting smacked. At that point, you're probably going to drop the ball. So if it's already at your body, you just got to, close the ball to your body. So it's not a negative in all situations, but you still want to show that you're able to catch the ball with your hands. Pluck it out the air if needed, put your hands up, use your 6'4" height, use your wingspan, be able to really go get the ball when needed. But we'll see.
I think Terry McLaurin is a good example of a body catcher who was able to still go up and pluck the ball when necessary. He's still able. He wins contested catches with body catches sometimes. So it is able to work on the next level. But like SportsFan said, you still want to be able to see the receiver go and pluck the ball out of the air with their hands. And so, Brian, thank you for mentioning the FSU Pro Day. I'll get to why I asked about that after we take this quick little break. All right. We are back, and now we are going to discuss our wide receivers 6 through 10-ish. We've already said some of the names that some of us have in certain spots. So let's start off at the wide receiver 6 spot. Myself and SportsFan both have Ladd McConkey. Brian had Xavier Legette, so we already discussed him to an extent. Ladd McConkey, I think he was probably the biggest winner from the pre-combine discussion from before the combine even occurred. A lot of people were really familiarizing themselves with the slot receiver from Georgia, who was not just a slot receiver. I think a lot of people had an assumption of what he would do, and then at the combine when he ran at 4.3, it just boosted his stock even more to where he is a potential first-round pick. And now we have him in the same discussions as Brian Thomas, Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Legette, Keon Coleman, guys like that. So, Ladd McConkey, SportsFan, what stands out to you about him?
It's just, before the combine, you could say he has sneaky athleticism. Like, he's faster than what you think. But now, when you got the 40 time, it's like he's as fast as you think. When you watch the film, he was really the main receiver that was running routes down the field, getting open, running them digs, running them corner routes, running them slants to really get open versus, deeper man coverage versus the best DBs in SEC. He was mainly that guy winning on those routes. And after he got the ball, he would really go, showing yak, showing the ability to break tackles. I've seen comparisons. I liked him, but I didn't know how much other people liked him. I've seen comparisons to Doug Baldwin. I see comparisons to Antonio Brown. I see comparisons to some of the best route runners the league has ever seen. So I'm glad I'm not the only one just feeling that way. But it's like his ability to just break down and snap on routes is almost unparalleled in this draft. Me personally, I'd probably say he's the best route runner in this draft, just overall, to be honest with you. Just speaking route running, he might be the best. He don't have the best hands, of course. He's not the fast. He doesn't have the bigger build, but just running routes, the art of running routes, I don't think a receiver is going to say he's bad at that. I think he's probably the best in the draft. So when it comes down to NFL, it's about winning your one-on-one matchups, winning routes. And, I feel like DBs in the league will struggle covering man-to-man. The thing I really want to see is how well he does at diagnosing zones, finding the soft spots in zones, because that's a big part of, playing receiver in the league.
He's able to do that. We might see something special.
Yeah.
Honestly,
or you put him in the slot.
Hey, honestly, you said he's the best route runner in the class. I don't know if it's really that close. I mean, I think he's clearly won. I think you may have discussions about Malik, but you still have the same questions about Malik's route running on the outside versus the slot. I think Ladd probably deals with the press on the outside better than Malik did.
Yeah.
Do you think that's crazy to say?
No, that's not crazy at all. We even saw it in the one-on-ones where he was be able to be depressed.
Nobody could put his hands on him. He was cooking Keon Mitchell. He was cooking everybody. He just
so Ladd isn't as explosive after the catch, but I mean he has the athleticism to still make something happen once he gets it. Like SportsFan said, you put him in the slot. If he's able to truly diagnose zone coverages once he because we all know what he can do against man coverage. If he's truly able to diagnose what he can do against zone coverages, if he has a good enough quarterback, this is a potential 100-catch, 115-catch guy in the league, 1,000 yards every year, because he's able to win against man coverage, and he just has the play style to where, he's cerebral potentially. Sneaky athletic, but we know the 40 number now, so we can't even say sneaky athletic, quicker than fast. But if he's able to,
lunch pail type guy,
blue collar,
real type of guy you would want to bring home to meet your kids. But this is the type of, if he can settle into the zone coverages, there's nothing he can't do on the football field. And this is probably the one receiver in the 6 through 10 range where it's probably the safest bet to have some sort of success. At worst, I think year to year he's an 800-yard guy. At worst. Because every team could use a Ladd McConkey. Everybody needs this type of guy.
Yeah.
Everybody.
If you watch his film, it's like nothing he didn't do. He caught screens. He did deep routes. He did slants and goals. It's like...
Was he returning punt?
A lot of him a lot.
I don't think they had him returning kicks. I'm not sure.
He probably can, though.
He probably could. I wouldn't be surprised. They probably won't waste him doing that, though. They'll throw a crash down there.
This might be the peak of this build.
You said what?
This might be the peak of this particular build.
The Jerry Rice of what?
I can't say that. I can't say of what, because we might get canceled. But this is the peak of this receiver. I don't know. I might like him better than Cooper Kupp. I'm kidding.
So, great thing you brought up Cooper Kupp, because I was gonna say if you could get him in a McVay or a Kyle Shanahan type offense, he might be putting up 1,200 at the worst, yearly.
I don't even know if the offense matters, man. We saw Hunter Renfrow have almost 1,000 yards a couple years ago, man.
That's a good point.
I think Lad McConkey does every single thing better than Hunter Renfrow on the football field, and he's bigger.
I agree.
Bigger, stronger, faster.
It was dark times. I remember him Lad McConkey was getting Hunter Renfrow comparisons. I said, ain't no way.
But I feel like that at the very worst.
I've ever seen. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
The Lad McConkey, Hunter Renfrow, that was straight skin color analysis. There was nothing else involved in that. It was really sick.
Might be the first white receiver to get these black comps. This is groundbreaking stuff. I haven't seen a white comp for him in a while. Ever since the combine, it's all black receivers for him.
Yeah, when I saw Tony O'Brien, I said, "Oh, we really left. You really left.
We're cooking.
We left the Julian Edelmans. We left the Wes Walker. Now we going
to now. Can't say that no more because they ran 4.6, 4.7. Lad out there running 4.3, breaking a sweat.
Yeah. I was going to say, at the very worst, when he first starts out, he'll be the security blanket guy because he'll be the guy that can find a way to get open in third downs. I think he'll find ways to read zones and stuff like that. As we said, he's a pretty cerebral guy. So I think going forward, he'll be able to do that well. I think he probably didn't have to worry about it as much because obviously you had Brock Bowers and other guys who were more targeted defensively, I guess I would say. But I think sky's honestly the limit for Lad going forward because he's able to do the things that you want a receiver to do, which is route run, being able to separate, good with the hands, very, 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 very agile as well. So I don't think there's a whole lot of weaknesses in his game, but I think the only question, honestly, is how consistent do you think he can be outside, and that may be why he's wavering on people's lists. But I think he's a guy that you see as a first round talent.
And of course, he's 6 foot flat or 5'11". Still have that size concern, but
this could look foolish in a couple years.
Yeah,
he has the upside of a top 4 receiver in this class. Whether we like it or not, this could look foolish. But at the same time, I think where he currently is probably a safe bet.
Yeah,
that might just show how historic this class is, though.
It's hard to rank him higher than receivers 6'3", 6'4". So he's not gonna be better than Rome, Marv.
Is he better than JS?
Brian, AD. He's not built like Xavier Legette or one of the other receivers. He's not as explosive as Malik Nabers or Brian Thomas. So it's hard to really put him higher than the receivers. But at the end of the day, his career could end up better, and he ends up with a quarterback and just throw him the ball. Really.
Yeah. So to answer your question, CT, I think he might have been wide receiver 3 or 4 last year.
Oh, say that again. Is he better than JSN?
That's his question. Yeah.
Without a doubt. I never liked JSN to begin with.
Oh, I ain't know that. My bad.
I can't explain it. I'll watch JSN and I'll see his numbers and I'll just be like, that's not because of him. That's because of CJ Stroud. And I knew that.
I don't know. I still like JSN though. I think I think if you put JSN in his class, he doesn't stand out as much as he did last year because of the lack of explosiveness and lack of size. Yeah. And I think you put Lad in last year's class, he has an argument for wide receiver 1. Because JSN was wide receiver 1, right? Or was it
It might have been Addison.
Addison?
Either Addison or JSN. Because I think QJ was 4, and then
back to back almost.
Yeah, because I feel like QJ was 4 and Zay Flowers was 3.
Because Zay Flowers was my wide receiver 1 last year. But I think they went back to back to back to back.
Yeah. They went 4 straight. 4 straight. And then the Giants had to pick a corner at that point.
What a disgusting draft by the Chargers. Anyway,
phenomenal.
To leave out of that class, and they took Quentin Johnston over
Zay Flowers. And Jordan Addison, I think.
Anyway, let's not talk about Chargers. It's upset me. Next receiver on my board.
Guy. Yes, sir.
No. Next receiver on my board is Keon Coleman. This is why I asked Brian about the FSU Pro Day. Just so we could get some more eyes on the Keon Coleman footage, I'm expecting a pretty good pro day performance from him. He had a pretty good combine. We talked about this in our combine episode.
Why are you expecting a pretty good pro day performance?
I mean, he can run routes and stuff. Like, I don't think it's gonna be anything bad. It's just the question is he gonna get that 40 up? That might be about it.
I don't even think he's gonna run it. He doesn't need to. The GPS at the combine proved everything that we knew. He may not be quick in a straight line, but when it comes to running them routes,
that agility.
Hey,
air, dude. When a DB right there, he not gonna run that fast.
What? You think somebody is stopping that frame from running that fast?
They did it this season.
That was with bad coaching. This is what we talked about. See, this is why we need that footage from the last episode.
No, seriously, Jay. Who?
There was bad coaching. He needs a real wide receiver coach, and I think he has a real wide receiver coach right now. I don't know who it is, but those GPS times from the the mile per hour is from the routes. Moved me. I did not expect
with air and shoot.
But you're not understanding the frame plus the speed. Nobody is really trying to get in front of that.
What do you mean?
There won't be much resistance. He'll just get him off me. Once he learns that,
I don't know about that.
He wasn't doing that versus dude learning algebra and calculus every week.
You're gonna have a good coach.
He's doing that versus grown men paid millions to stop him.
And Keon Coleman also goes into the if you can scheme the ball into his hands, he could probably make something happen. This is the guy at Florida State who returned kicks and punts. So this is somebody who has the agility to make once the ball gets into his hands. So if you can get the ball into his hands, scheming it up any type of way,
Cordell Patterson.
He can have success.
You can't use him in the backfield like Cordero.
Hey, you might be able to.
That's cool. You got it.
I would say his teammate Jaheim Bell you would use more like that than Keon.
Has a Cordell Patterson career. That makes him a Hall of Famer, right?
Fuck no. See, I knew he was gonna. That's such a crazy.
Doesn't that make me right?
Is it? Oh my.
If my wide receiver 7 turns into a Hall of Famer, you guys just have to apologize.
I mean, this is a very historic class if the wide receiver 7 becomes a Hall of Famer. In any standpoint.
It won't be a Hall of Famer being a receiver though.
That's not
the point. That's not what he's gonna think about, JG. That's like saying that Devin Hester didn't go in as a receiver. Like that.
Being a good football player. That's all it is. Good football player. But I think if he gets the ball in his hands on offense, not even on the punt and kick returns, I think if he gets the ball in his hands on offense, he can make something happen. I think he is a receiver who needs a good situation around him. So I don't want to put him in a situation where he's thrown out there as the X every single play, like the Cardinals were doing with D-Hop a couple years ago that SportsFan mentioned, and expecting him to win on the outside, because that's just not his game. It's not his game yet. I think if you were able to find scenarios for him to get the ball in his hands, either from the slot or maybe from the outside, even times maybe you put him in the backfield and have him run routes from the backfield. Get creative and figuring out how to get him the ball. I think it can work out for him.
So early on, would you use him like as a Z receiver and kind of like try to, use him in motion so that way he doesn't have to worry about beating presses?
I try to use him in almost any way possible. Any way that I can find a way to get him the ball. Outside of, just keeping him strictly as an outside receiver. Just because he's not the greatest route runner yet in order to beat the outside cornerbacks routinely in the NFL. So creativity, H-back, running back. Figure out different things to use him and how to get him the ball, because that's what he thrives at. The receiver stuff will come afterwards. The typical traditional receiver stuff can come afterwards.
The receiver stuff will come afterwards for a receiver you think should be drafted in the first round. Okay. It's like
the wide receiver 7 being drafted in the first round.
You never said Keon Coleman should be drafted in the first round. You never said that. Or you just don't believe that more?
I don't know. I think if the right situation is in the first round, maybe.
The right situation.
That's the right situation.
Would it have to be like San Fran? Because I feel like you semi alluded to that in the mock draft, but I can't remember.
We can just say any player and go to San Fran and fit in. We got to stop doing that.
No. I'm only asking because I feel like that was the pick. Because I know when we got to Kansas City, he was like, "That's not a good fit for Keon."
If he can't fit in Kansas City, he's not fitting anywhere, dog. If Andy Reid hand draw plays for you, there's nowhere in the league you can draw.
No. I'm not saying he can't fit in Kansas City. I just think they have too many players in that slot position right now to where he won't be able to get as many snaps.
A slot player? 6'4" slot player?
Keon is not really 6'4", dude. Is that what he measured in at the combine? If he's really 6'4",
what?
Let's find the combine numbers.
Are you serious? Are you dead ass, dude?
Well, apparently some of those pro day measurements have been different than the combine, so we'll see. But
you're trolling me. You're trolling me.
He's 6'3".
You're trolling me.
He came in at 6 foot at the combine.
Big slot.
6'1", basically.
Came at 6'1"? I thought you was 6'4". What happened to that? How do you lose?
I'm gonna check again, but based on what I wrote down, it said he was 6 foot 3/4.
Yeah, sounds about right. That's what it looked like. He didn't look like he was 6'4".
NFL.com says 6'3".
They're lying. He doesn't look like he's 6'4".
Oh my God! Why is this comparison on here? Drake London? No, Lance Zierlein. What are you doing? Oh my God! Lance Zierlein might be the worst draft analyst.
Yeah, I must have miswrote it because it's saying 6'3", 1/4. Maybe I said it wrong.
Keon Coleman, it's like, I don't know. He's good after the catch, I guess.
That's what I'm saying. Getting the ball.
At that point, you can just draft anybody and say give him the ball and call it a day.
No, because everybody's not good after the catch.
Yeah, but you also got to be good before the catch, and he's not really that good before the catch.
Not if you figure out ways to get in the ball without him having to get in the way.
Bro, at that point, why even draft a receiver? Just draft a running back, scheme him open, and then give him the ball.
The running backs be slow, man. They be running 4.7s now these days.
No, they don't. No, they don't. You're such a liar. We had running backs run a 4.3 this year. Stop lying.
But they be tiny. It's like them 4.3 running backs be 5'10", 200.
Basically, Keon Coleman's a 6'4" running back.
No. But if that's what you want to call them, sure.
You don't notice that's the two players you like the most? They're both 6'3" running backs, 6'1" running backs.
Xavier Legette. See, you keep talking about Xavier Legette. These are two different prospects here.
They have the identical,
They're different though. They're completely different.
They're different.
What's different?
Xavier actually wins.
He wins what? What routes?
What
route he wins on?
The routes that he wins, that he needs to win. Post and goes.
So I'm gonna send y'all the tweet that I got.
He wins post and goes. That's what Xavier get. Okay.
And then wait until he gets to the league and is a slot receiver. Can't wait.
So yeah, I misread it. So JG he did measure in a 6'3 1/4. The tweet that I got it from misread and read the guy underneath him.
Got you. All right, so I think there's enough to talk about Keon Coleman, man. I don't think there's even enough film in the show to cover about 20 seconds of my talk.
You got to use his Michigan State film.
Ugh. He was better at Michigan State, so that might have to work. Boy transferred, got a better quarterback and got worse. How does that work? And then his 6'7" teammate ran faster than him. Anyway, it's we gotta talk about real receivers again. Who we got next?
I don't have no real receivers left.
You do. You sure? Yeah, I sure hope you do.
I got Xavier Worthy at 9, 4.21.
Yeah, I don't think much more needs to be said.
4.21.
It shows us when the
Speed
film
kills.
He gets the ball and he goes.
I think we're in an era where you can figure out how to actually make this work. I think a lot of people have struggled with these these fast receivers who break combine records and stuff, and actually getting them to have success in the league. The John Rosses, the what's his name, Dree Archer, those type of guys. When you see these type of West Coast offenses that scheme up different things, if you could just get the ball in the playmaker's hands, because I think that's what Xavier Worthy has proven to be at Texas. He's been a playmaker all 3 years. As a freshman, he was scaring me as an Oklahoma fan because I didn't know what he was about to turn into. But he's been a playmaker all 3 years at Texas. And as long as you get him the ball, this isn't the type of player where you just send him deep every play and just hope he gets open. This is the type of player where you can throw him a screen, throw him a drag, throw him a slant, and maybe he'll take it 30, 40, 50 yards, you know? So I think if he's put in the right situation, a Chiefs, a 49ers, a Dolphins, I don't think the Dolphins would need another one of these.
Miami gets him, it might get crazy.
But if you can put him in a situation where they give him the ball and let him take advantage of his speed, he can have success. But I just can't put him that much higher than all these other receivers just because he is a bit on the smaller side. I think, what do you weigh in at, 160?
165.
Yeah, so it's a struggle to see how well he will actually hold up. And you really question his upside.
188 comparison.
Yeah. You really question to see his upside doing anything aside from like the drags, the bubble screens, and the occasional go route. But for what he is, if you can scheme something up for him, I think he can have success in the league. But he's my wide receiver 9.
So I agree there. He's my wide receiver 10. I think I originally had him at 9 after the combine, but I have him as his 10th guy. I think early on, depending on what team he goes to, they might try to just early on use him as a deep threat. I think if they have the realization like you do, CT, he could be utilized in more ways. But I think if he's not in like a West Coast system, he's going to be used like they're going to try to use him like he's Deshaun Jackson or somebody like that.
Yeah, that's the quickest way for him to be another John Ross, though. But
yeah,
hopefully a team is able to be creative with him. I mean, a lot of these receivers in the 6 to 10 range, they don't do all things well, but if you can figure out the things that they do well, you could see them have success in their roles, have them being a star in their roles. They're not going to be your number one guy, probably, but they could be a good number 2, number 3 option in your offense. They could be a good number 2, number 3 in a good offense. Yeah, figuring out how to take advantage of the speed. This is an asset that you can't just send deep on random second downs. Figure out how to get him.
Yeah, you can do that. He'll win.
I mean, it'll work, but you saw the same thing. They tried to do it with John Ross. You see Marquise Goodwin, track runner. I mean,
to give Xavier credit, he done more in college than all them guys, especially John Ross. John Ross didn't do anything to his last year in college. He had a great last year. Before that, he had like 500 total yards. Xavier Worthy had like 800, 700, and 1,000 yards last season with quarterback play that I think could have been better. He had a lot of underthrown passes even when he beat DBs. So, like Mingo said, if they actually draw plays up other than just tell him to go run deep, he can do more than that. You can be the screen guy. He can be the quick slant go. He actually ran routes pretty well. But I wouldn't say he ran routes elite because he's like his elite route runner. Just because of his speed, DBs have to respect that type of speed. And when you get DBs turning their hips or backpedaling, trying to bail to match what he's doing, all he has to do is stop, and the DB's like moving 5-10 yards on the field, and he's gonna be open almost every time. So, and that type of speed usually requires safety help. So, just him being on the field can actually make other people open on the field. So, it's interesting to see what team will value that speed enough to draft him. I've seen the Colts and Cardinals are going to have top 30 visits with him soon, so I'm interested to see what those look like.
Colts must think he's going to get past 32.
Yeah, I guess the new favorite spot is to say that he'll be a Chief, but once again, I don't know if the Chiefs really need somebody like that. Will he get past 32? I just based on speed alone and how we've seen it be overdrafted in the draft for years now. He's probably a first-round prospect, just based on the draft. But me personally, I probably wouldn't draft him in the first round, but somebody's going to do it. Somebody's going to say, we can make this work. So, we'll see. Whatever wide receivers we have. I got 2 new additions. They're basically the same player. Ricky, was it Pearsall?
Pearsall? I'm not sure how you pronounce it.
Ricky Pearsall. He had that nice catch for Florida. He had the one-handed coverage. And then traffic got smacked, hold the ball. And then you got Roman Wilson. I think they're almost kind of the same player for just, quick. It's about 6 foot, 5'11" guys, route runners. Good wide receiver 2s, wide receiver 3s in the league. They'll probably be around for a long time, but they'll be reliable enough to, get open to certain downs, catch the ball. Nothing too crazy. Even on, I think Roman wasn't there really well at the Shrine Bowl. Or was it the Senior Bowl?
Senior Bowl.
Senior Bowl. Okay, Senior Bowl. He did really well. I think he went up versus Keon Mitchell too and did really well.
Yeah, him and Lab were the two guys that were beating everybody in 1-on-1s.
Yeah, so I kind of like what I saw from both of those guys. And then who's left? Brendan Rice. He's there.
Who?
Brendan Rice is there. He'll get drafted.
So we have the sleeper of the draft, who I don't know if he's really a sleeper anymore, and like Malachi Corley out of Western Kentucky.
About him, goodness gracious. Couldn't even be a sleeper no more. What's his name? Steve Smith started talking about him.
Yeah. I feel like the new sleepers become like Javon Baker, but nobody's really talked about him after a week or so.
Maine Burton. That's another one I've been hearing as a sleeper.
Can't be a sleeper from Alabama or Georgia.
Exactly.
You just didn't have the production.
All right, let's try again. Malik Washington. There it is.
Sure. Javon Baker, I think that's a good sleeper. Theo Ash made a video on him, and he really likes him. And I trust Theo Ash's draft opinions.
Oh, I forgot. Troy Franklin.
No.
That's not a sleeper.
That's Jalen.
Hear me out, though. We ain't talking about him. Hear me out, though. Do I think he'll be a good receiver in the league?
No.
But, hey, he is great after the catch. His break tackle rate is one of the best in the draft, if best in the all-college football last year. So, he's not fast as I thought he was. He looked 4.3 on the field, but he ran a 4.4.
That's the issue.
Last year, man, it's so crazy.
He's fast.
He ran the same exact 40.
Yeah, it's
because
he'll be drafted. He'll be a good.
It felt like
guy.
It felt like pre-combine, like he was the guy that was penciled in at 32, and then Xavier Worthy did what he did, and it was like, all right, Troy is absolutely second round, like no question about it.
It's fine to me. It's so like lazy to just give the Chiefs a fast guy because like that offense has won 2 years now without really.
Yeah, they don't even play like that no more. But I think they would use him in the way that I was saying that they should, like a lot of the underneath stuff. That you get it to him quick and just let him go, because they haven't really done the just throw it deep to Tyreek stuff because they haven't had that receiver. But
not only that, due to the Tyreek effect and a lot of QBs like that. Well, it's not a lot of QBs like Mahomes, but deep passes like that. A lot of defenses is now running too high a lot.
Yep.
So just getting them passes off is almost damn near impossible. That's why Mahomes has went from a quarterback who's average different target was like top 5, top 10 in the league. It's way shorter now.
But it's also because he hasn't really had any true vertical threats. I mean, they brought in Kadarius Toney, but he's not even like the vertical threat type of receiver. He's fast, but he's another guy. All right, not too much, but he's another guy who you want to get the ball to him. No, you want to get the ball to him quick,
like a Legette.
I think they could do a combination of that with Xavier Worthy, and also he is the type of player who could add a downfield element to their offense, which they have really been lacking over the last couple of years since Tyreek left. And even though, like you said, defenses play too high, especially against the Chiefs a lot, because they'll just let Mahomes just matriculate down the field for the most part.
And Kelsey won't even run a route. He'll just twerk in the middle of the field and get open. So, like,
that's a version of an option route, man.
They need that person to do the same thing that Kelsey do in the middle of the field, the same way that Tyreek used to just run deep and then just run back and forth. That's what they need Xavier Worthy to do now. Just outrun the safeties. I like the fit.
Funny thing is, all that's going to do is just get more targets for Travis Kelce.
Yeah. That's all you need. And then opening up the underneath for Rashee Rice.
Yes, sir.
How old is Travis? He like 34.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be it for him, especially if they win another one.
34. Oh.
Yeah, y'all ready to move on to tight ends since we're talking about Kelce?
Might as well.
Yeah. Speaking of Kelce, this year's Kelce. Saying no, there's no Kelce in this draft, but What is Brock Bowers' pro comp?
Yeah, I was gonna say from a prospect perspective, where would you put him amongst like the all-time tight ends?
As draft prospects? Tight
Yeah,
ends as draft prospects? I mean, that's hard to say, though, because how many tight ends even been, like, considered first-round prospects for real?
probably
Like, legit.
Tony.
I say it's one every like 2 years.
You think so? I think it's been less frequent than that.
Yeah, I feel like it's real less than that.
You had
Outside
Pitts.
of Kyle Pitts, who else do you have?
Hawkinson was a surefire first round pick a couple years ago. I mean, a couple years before Pitts.
Who's the first round? You went first round?
Yeah, he went like 10, 11, 12.
I know there had to be someone in between Eric Ebron and Hawkinson, but I cannot think of a name.
I don't think it was.
Real?
Because Evan Ingram wasn't like that.
And then no, Evan Ingram was first round.
Well, he went first round, but I don't know if people felt like he was the first round
OJ
prospect.
Howard and Njoku, that class, right? Yeah, OJ Howard. Yeah, that's a miss. But Njoku, that's a first round.
He went pick 8. T.J. Hawkinson went the 8th pick.
OJ Howard to this day. I still believe in OJ Howard. He's going to figure it out.
Where?
Him, Noah Fant, I
In the
believe.
UFL?
Irv Smith Jr.
No, he's ass. No, he's
OJ
ass.
Howard.
No. Somebody was posting Irv Smith highlights talking about how did the league let us get him. No, that shit was crazy. Irv Smith was actually ass. I'm sorry.
OJ Howard has him 2 catches in the national championship, and we haven't heard from him since.
Man, if Kirk Cousins can't help you figure it out, man, nobody's gonna help you figure it out. Dog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I say probably Tony Gonzalez. I don't.
Probably up there with them.
Yeah,
as prospects. I mean, look, if you look in the league now, the best tight ends are usually not considered the best prospects for whatever reason. You go to Iowa, you block a lot, so you end up like George Kittle, or you end up like who else blocked a lot at Iowa? I'm trying to remember.
there's somebody else. I'm trying to think.
No fan go to Iowa.
I think Noah went there. But I feel like it's another tight end. That's not Hawkinson or Fant.
Noah Fant, Hawkinson. Well, Noah Fant and Hawkinson were in the same class, right?
I think so.
They was there at the same time, so I think that's probably what you're thinking about. It was at Iowa at the same time, and they both went first.
Yeah. But who else is in the league? Tight ends. Mark Andrews. He was like a 4th round pick, 3rd pick.
Yeah, I think he's like 3rd.
Because
I think Hayden Hurst got the same year as him, right?
Hayden Hurst went first for sure as a tight end. I don't know. When you're being a tight end in the league, the best ones usually don't come out as, I don't want to say polished as Brock, but they just don't have the hype as Brock to end up being that good. I feel like the only top, like, really drafted tight end has been good recently, like the last 10 years, what, Hawkinson? I think just
Probably.
Hawkinson. I can't think of anybody else.
Because Gronk didn't go that high, I don't think.
Gronk should go that high.
Hawkinson, I mean, Gronk went second round, I think, but Hawkinson has been like the only top 10 tight ends who have like the immediate success. Because even Vernon Davis, he wasn't really putting it together until like Alex Smith figured it out for the most part. I mean, Kyle Pitts, I think we all know Kyle Pitts can be good.
Did he get 7 yards year one?
Vernon Davis? Well, Kyle Pitts. I think he did. But ever since then, it's like the quarterback play hasn't been good. So I think this year will be the true test.
Hurt. I think he's still hurt.
Pitts?
Yeah, he hasn't ran the same. Like he doesn't have the explosion rookie year.
Yeah, and they also they also don't use him as much as they did his first year on the outside. They really were using him as an outside receiver a lot during his first year. But recently, I mean, he's hurt a lot. He plays hurt, and he just doesn't get the ball. That was a lot of Arthur Smith.
Yeah. Arthur Smith, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Kyle Pitts can be added to that successful tight end list with a good season. Because fantasy football people, we've been waiting for the last few years for him to put it together again.
Kirk Chains, man.
But I think Brock Bowers is in that tier. I don't know if he's a better prospect than Pitts. I think revisionist history probably has a lot of people putting him above Pitts. But the Kyle Pitts conversation at the time was a little crazy. Like that 4.3, 4.4 speed that he had. A lot of people were enamored with that. I don't think Brock is the type of athlete that Pitts is, and Brock also isn't like a great blocker. I think that would have really put him over the top if Brock was like a I think that'll be the greatest tight end prospect we ever see if he has the athletic ability that we see from Pitts and Bowers, the receiving ability, and he also does it in terms of the blocking. If we see that, that is the surefire top 3, top 5 pick at tight end. But if Brock Bowers isn't going top 5 for sure in this class, I don't know if we'll see it for a while.
Yeah.
I think Cal Pitts probably soured people away from it.
Yeah, but Brock, though, just speaking of him as a prospect.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people have been thinking him more of a slot receiver than a tight end, and that's fair because not really as a good enough blocker to really warrant that. But still, just as an offensive weapon overall, he seems really polished, been really good since he got to Georgia. So he's at the same time though, it's hard to really like mock him to teams because a tight end usage is really determined on what the team looks like.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of teams don't use their tight end that much to make it a first round pick worth it. Depends on what the team is.
There's some spots.
I feel
the Colts. I feel like the Colts would be a good fit for him.
I feel like if LA trades down, it's a possibility. Just because they did just lose Gerald Everett.
I want LA to take a wide receiver, but I wouldn't be terribly upset if they took Brock if in a trade down. The Jets. Who?
Yeah, the Jets possibly. Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about Chargers.
Oh yeah, the Chargers. And the Jets is another spot. They think they've addressed receiver and offensive tackle. So,
they surely did what Tyron Smith was going to play about 40% of the season.
And then Morgan Moses is playing the other 60%. So, it evens equals an even 100%.
Makai back then is a swing tackle.
But they think they addressed it, so I think they may view tight end as a need on the offensive end.
If A-Rod said he wants Brock Bowers, he's going to get Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
Yeah, might as well. I don't think it's a negative addition. But they just signed Big Mike Will, so they probably think receivers taken care of as well. They still got Alan Lazard. So they think they're probably good.
I think two things. I saw a report that they're trying to trade Alan Lazard. And the second thing is they're building some type of IR lineup, like Xavier said in the group chat. It's like they're building a team that I'm not sure is actually going to be there in Week 10. So I'm not really sure.
They're not gonna be there.
Go hard or go home, JG. It's a one-year thing.
Are they surviving the 3-week preseason?
Are they surviving training camp?
That's the real question.
You know how many DMPs we're going to see through that first week of the preseason? Just because, Tyron Smith got to get his scheduled breaks. Morgan Moses, didn't he just...
A-Rod's still on rehab.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Morgan Moses going to have the rehab.
Mike Williams, ACL.
Rehab.
Because
he get hurt 5 games.
I'm confused about Mike Williams is going to play this season at Week 1. I need to see how he's doing that.
Cousin Tyrod might play like 10 games this year, CT.
Oh, he is on the Jets now. But he be getting hurt, too.
Who's on the Jets?
Backup quarterback more injury prone than the starting quarterback. Oh,
who's the backup quarterback?
Tyrod.
No, not Tyrod. He's going to get fucked up. Oh, my God.
I thought he would have left MetLife.
That's what I'm saying. From one bad offensive line to another, this is a little...
Man.
He don't want to leave New York. I mean, I get it.
I get it. He entered the fashion stuff, so that's probably why. He was probably hoping the Jets for himself.
That nigga been to Buffalo, the Giants, and the Jets. How many players been with all 3 teams up there? It can't be that many.
I don't think there's a whole lot.
He's he sets his own lane.
Yeah.
Shout out cousin Tyrod, man. That's my dog. But Brock Bowers, I think he's probably one of the safer prospects in the class. I think you probably know what you're going to get, but at the same time, first-round tight ends don't have the best track record. So I think that's why a lot of people have him sliding down the board. He's probably a top 5, top 10 level player in this class. I don't think we see him go that early once the actual draft comes around. But there are some spots, like we said, Colts, Jets, Chargers. I think those are the 3 teams I would like to see him on. And then anybody else would just be, probably just adding on to what they already have. It's not a need for any team, honestly, because you're not building your offense around tight end. You've seen people, you draft your tight end early, and then a lot of times the offensive coordinator forgets that you even have him. So moving on, I think Jatavian Sanders is a type of player you may see go early to mid-second round with the teams who may not value the tight end position in the first round, but it's like, hey, we do kind of still want a game changer at that position. So I think with these same teams, you may see them come back around in the second round If they didn't take Brock in the first, maybe they like Jatavian in the second because he is the type of athletic chess piece that you can move. I was a bit disappointed in his 40 time at the combine. He ran like a 4.6. I was expecting him to run like a 4.5, 4.4, and he didn't show off the best blocking skills in the blocking drills, but I didn't really expect that from him. It's not him at all.
Huh?
He ran a 4.6, 4.64, 4.65 or something like that, 4.67, I might want to say. But athletic tight end on the field, the film looks faster than the actual 40 time. He was in the Texas offense, like SportsFan said, all episode with Quinn Ewers at quarterback. So you kind of want to see him with an NFL quarterback, see what they can do with him. But it is the athletic chess piece that you can move around the field at the tight end position.
Quick note. As people know, Texas Pro Day was today also. Jatavian Sanders did 8 reps on the bench press?
Yeah, don't ask him to block.
And he's 245, so it's not like you can really add a whole lot of muscle and build.
How do we only do 8 at that size?
Don't ask him to block.
Please don't.
That's insane.
Yeah, I think this is a situation where maybe this isn't the greatest. I don't want to say comp, but like this might not be the greatest utilization. But I feel like you're probably going to have to use him like a Darren Waller in the NFL type situation, probably.
Failed Sanders. Like he's not the one lifting the weights. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
He won't be able to block, but I mean, if you want a guy to, damn, this nigga just Noah Fant again.
Hey, me Noah Fant. He's had some level of success in the league. I mean, didn't have the longevity, but
gone to a second. Has he gone to a second paycheck? Yeah, he's in there. Yeah, for sure.
Had to it by now.
Had to.
Tight end 3. Brian, who you have at tight end 3? Who you got?
So my tight end 3 as of right now is Ben Sinnott out of Kansas State. So when I first threw on the tape, I thought that maybe it was I guess it was the number, but at first I was like, this feels like a fullback H-back type of guy. And I don't think this is a great comparison, but I could see him being used in the right situation, kind of like a Kyle Juszczyk. Now he's good, like after the catch, running routes, especially the wheel route up the sideline, and making plays. But it just, from what I saw from him, he felt like your typical H-back or like tight end 2 that can be your tight end 1, but it's an offense. It's like a 2000s level offense where he's like, he's a blocking tight end, but he'll still get you like 600, 700 yards a year if you use him correctly.
Yeah, I had Jaheim Bell. This might be a little bit early for him, but he's another one of these athletic type of tight ends that, I just happen to like on the field. At Florida State, he was their primary tight end, but my number 4 is also from Florida State. He wasn't a tight end at Florida State. But
oh no! Don't you do it! Don't you do it!
No, Jaheim Bell's an athlete. He weighed in at 240 at the combine, which was a good weight for him. I think he played around like 220 or 230 at FSU. He's only 6'2", so he'll definitely be one of those more slot-based tight ends. You won't really see him in line, but 240 was a good weight for him, and he still ran 4.6. It was a pretty good time at 6'2", 240, 4.6, pretty good time for him. And then number 4, Johnny Wilson. 6'7" demon, man. I don't know.
That man's a receiver.
He might be a receiver, but I think you'll see him used similar to some of the tight ends that we have. I don't know if he's going to be. I mean, you could see him win outside, but at the same time, maybe he doesn't have success year 1. Then the team says, "Let's do the Niles Paul and move you to tight end." You never know. But I have to admit, if he was a tight end, he would be my tight end 4.
The Arciaga Whiteside got moved to tight end, right?
Yeah, but he was just really bad at the
King
sport.
Butler got moved to tight end.
You said Hakeem?
Hey, Johnny Wilson is 6'6", 230. He could put on 10 pounds.
Bro.
What?
Johnny Wilson will be a better outside receiver.
Oh, yeah. I'm into that. So
he will be a better outside receiver than Keon Coleman.
So So to stay with the FSU topic, I had Jaheim as my tight end 4, kind of for the reason that you just mentioned, CT. I think, and I was kind of saying this during the Keon portion, I feel like he's more of a guy that you can move around the field, especially like using in the backfield. Obviously, you're not going to give him the ball like 20 times a game or anything like that, but I think he's a guy that you can have in the backfield. You can have him spread out wide if it's like a linebacker outside or something like that. Probably not going to use him too much in the slot unless you're running like slot fades or something of that nature. But he's a versatile guy. He's a guy that if you get the ball into his hands, he can be a home run threat. So his athletic ability is why I slotted him as my tight end 4, because I just think that he'll be a dynamic receiving threat. However they use him, as long as he's utilized properly.
And then your tight end 5 is Theo Johnson, who had probably the best combine, one of the best combines in tight end history. He'd probably be my 6. I didn't go to 6, but I have Cade Stover at 5. Coming out of Ohio State, he's used to run blocking at least in line, and this is probably the one actually tight end on my list that can actually block a little bit, and he does have a little bit of receiver upside. Not a terrible athlete with a 4.6 40, and he is 6'4", 250, so he's a big target. I think you'll see him used more in the red zone, but I do think he's a good enough blocker to be an actual inline tight end. So I have him at tight end 5, but I do think Theo Johnson probably has a bit of upside, and he'll be relevant in the NFL at some point.
Yeah, I agree with you on the Cade Stover point. I think that if he uses inline tight end, he'll kind of be like, I think if you have a team that kind of did like the Patriots used to do with Gronk and the other tight end, and you use him as more like a guy that runs seams, I think that will be something you can do at least as he's still continuing to learn the position. Because if I'm not mistaken, he converted from linebacker to tight end last year or the year before that, I believe. So he's still, got room to grow. But right now, if nothing else, we know he can block, and I feel like again you can be utilized over the middle of the field. So he'd be great for base situations, as you've alluded to. CT.
And I think that transition from linebacker edge, I can't remember if he was a linebacker or edge rusher before, but that shows he has the physicality to compete in the run game at least. As that inline tight end. And then with Theo Johnson, the only reason I couldn't move him ahead of Cade is because he didn't have the on-field production. Like, the combine is really what boosted him up people's boards, because I think he probably had the best or second best tight end combine of all time. For him to be 6'6", 260 and run a whatever, I think it was like a 4.4 or 4.5. Just the on-field production, I think he only had like 300 or 400 yards last year, but in the college game, they don't really feature the tight ends, especially in Big Ten football. They don't feature the tight ends the way that they should. So you never know. This could be a case where he gets to the next level and his athleticism is featured more in a particular offense. So I wouldn't be surprised if he has success at the next level. I think, let me see, pull up the numbers. I think he did have a decent amount of touchdowns.
Yeah, because I wasn't able to find a whole lot of all 22 from him. So I kind of had to look a little bit at highlight tape and stuff like that from the full season. There were points where where they were able to get him the ball in the middle of the field, he was able to make things happen. But for the most part, unless he was coming open, they weren't really looking for him like that. So I do think this may be a situation where he was a little underutilized in the Pitt State offense.
Yeah, and then. I mean, that's all the tight ends I really wanted to talk about. But I don't know if anybody had any extras they wanted to mention. I think the Ben Sinnott one is probably one I should look at a little bit more.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think none of the tight ends really 3 through whatever are really separating themselves from the pack the way the 2 through 1 are in my mind. But going over receivers, going over tight ends, the primary pass catchers for this draft. We will touch on the rest of the remaining positions that we have missed out on. And I do think we have a mock draft coming out in the next week or 2.
Yeah, in a couple weeks.
So be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you're looking forward to seeing in the next draft. Let us know who you want your team to draft. Let us know what type of prospects you want us to cover. If you have a prospect you want us to talk about, let us know in the comment section below. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. I'm Christian, here with Brian, and SportsFan. Be sure. Oh, wait. Forgot. I'll just say it again. So a happy early birthday to Brian, just in case you guys are watching this after he has turned 24. But we got 2 old heads, 2 24-year-olds, and a 22-year-old talking about the draft. So be sure to stay tuned for the next clip.